A Stoic once said, "He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior." Yet in today's world, many men unknowingly surrender, not to love, but to fear, insecurity, and the silent sacrifice of their purpose. They compromise their values, abandon their goals, and lose themselves trying to be everything for someone else. But there's a better way. In this video, we'll break down 10 things smart men should never do with women. Stoic principles that will help you preserve your inner strength, protect your peace of mind, and build relationships grounded in self-respect and virtue. If you're ready to lead with wisdom instead of weakness, hit that like button, subscribe for more Stoic insights, and let's dive in. Number 1, guard your past. The Stoics believed that our past is not who we are. It's only the training ground that helped us become who we strive to be today. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And in relationships, how we handle our personal history, especially when, how, and to whom we reveal it, can shape the very foundation of our connection. Many men fall into the trap of oversharing too quickly. They confuse openness with depth, vulnerability with wisdom. In an effort to seem honest or emotionally available, they begin to hand over parts of themselves that are still fragile, still healing, and still sacred. But Stoicism teaches us that virtue begins with self-mastery, and part of self-mastery is learning when to speak and when to remain silent. Your past may include pain, trauma, loss, or regret. But those things are not badges you need to present in order to be accepted. The Stoics would argue that the pain itself is not important. It's your growth through that pain, your strength forged in adversity, and your current character that truly matters. The events are external. Your response to them is what defines you. By giving someone access to your deepest experiences before they've earned your trust, you surrender your inner citadel, what Marcus Aurelius called the fortress within, which cannot be breached unless you open the gate. When you overshare with someone who hasn't proven their wisdom, patience, or integrity, you risk arming them with information that can be misused or misunderstood. Worse yet, you may feel shame or regret for giving too much of yourself too soon. Guarding your past does not mean hiding it out of fear. It means preserving its meaning. It means protecting your peace, honoring your growth, and recognizing that your story is something to be earned, not consumed. Just as a Stoic would not chase external validation, you should not seek closeness through emotional self-exposure. Instead, you should seek alignment, where both people show up with equal intention, equal virtue, and mutual respect. A woman worthy of your truth will not rush you to speak. She will not pry. She will create the kind of safety that invites sharing, not demands it. And even then, you reveal your story not to gain approval, but because you've reached a point of clarity where you know your past no longer owns you. You own it, and you choose to share it with strength, not scarcity. So hold your past close, let it be your teacher, not your definition. And remember, you don't owe your story to anyone, only to yourself and to those who prove through action that they are capable of honoring it. Number 2, face the fear of being alone. The Stoics taught that solitude is not a punishment. It's a sanctuary, a space for reflection, growth, and clarity. As Seneca wisely said, "He who is without a friend is not alone, for he has himself." Yet in our fast-paced world, many men rush into relationships not out of desire, but out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being unloved, fear of facing the silence of their own thoughts and emotions. But Stoicism asks us to confront this fear, not flee from it. When you fear being alone, you lose the ability to discern what truly adds value to your life. You begin to settle. You lower your standards, tolerate behaviors that don't align with your values, and chase connections just to escape the discomfort of solitude. That's not love, that's dependency. And any relationship built on fear will eventually erode your sense of self, leaving you empty, resentful, and yearning for something more. A Stoic man understands that solitude is not something to be feared. It is something to be embraced. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, spent years in isolation, cultivating inner peace and reflecting on his duty, his values, and his purpose. He wasn't afraid to be alone because he had already learned to find contentment within himself. The Stoic way of life encourages us to look inward, to strengthen our character, and to find fulfillment in the things that truly matter: virtue, wisdom, and personal growth. It is in these pursuits that we become whole, without needing anyone else to complete us. This kind of inner strength doesn't come easily, but it is incredibly powerful. When you are no longer afraid of being alone, you stop seeking relationships to fill a void. You begin to ask deeper questions. Does this person contribute to my life in a meaningful way? Does she challenge me to be a better version of myself? Or does she drag me away from my purpose? Does she bring peace, or does she bring drama? In short, you learn to choose your partners not out of fear of loneliness, but out of a clear, discerning desire for alignment. The Stoics would remind us that fear, especially the fear of being alone, is merely a misjudgment. Epictetus would say, "What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about those things." Being alone is not the enemy. It's the judgment that being alone is a sign of inadequacy or failure. In fact, being alone gives you the freedom to reconnect with your deepest self, to clarify your values, and to grow into a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. So, face your solitude. Don't run from it. Use it as an opportunity for self-reflection, self-improvement, and self-realization. Let it refine you. In doing so, you'll find that you don't need anyone to complete you. You are already complete. And only when you reach this state of inner peace can you truly enter a relationship freely, without fear, and with the wisdom to choose a partner who adds value to your life rather than simply filling a void. Number 3, manage your time wisely. Time, as the Stoics understood, is the most precious commodity we have. It is finite, irreplaceable, and constantly slipping away. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reminded himself of the brevity of life. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Time waits for no man, and yet many of us allow it to slip by without thought, wasting hours on trivial pursuits, distractions, and people who do not serve our greater purpose. In the context of relationships, this truth becomes even more critical. You cannot afford to spend your time on anything, or anyone, that doesn't align with your goals, values, and personal growth. Stoic wisdom teaches us that we must balance our relationships with our own aspirations, passions, and personal development. If you let a relationship consume all your time, you risk neglecting the very things that make you who you are: your ambitions, your health, your purpose, and your inner peace. The key to managing your time wisely is intentionality. The Stoics practiced mindfulness in every moment, constantly reflecting on whether their actions aligned with their principles. You must adopt the same approach. Instead of letting relationships dictate your schedule, take charge. Create space for yourself and your passions. Invest time in things that nourish your soul, whether it's pursuing your career, working on your health, or cultivating personal growth. In relationships, it's easy to lose yourself. It's easy to get caught up in someone else's needs, their desires, their schedule. But a Stoic man recognizes that his time is valuable, not just his time with others, but also the time he spends with himself. His time is dedicated to growth, self-discovery, and purpose. If a partner truly values you, they'll understand that your time isn't just about them. It's about the work you put into becoming the best version of yourself. Furthermore, your time is not only valuable to you, it is also valuable to the people you choose to spend it with. When you prioritize your own growth and well-being, you invite others to do the same. You show them that time is not to be wasted, and in turn, you set the tone for a relationship built on mutual respect, shared goals, and purposeful interaction. This doesn't mean neglecting the relationship, but rather ensuring that it does not overwhelm or define your entire existence. Remember, the Stoics believed in living with virtue and purpose every day. Time is the currency with which you pay for that purpose. So ask yourself, am I spending my time wisely? Am I allowing relationships to foster my growth, or am I letting them drain my energy? Manage your time with the same care and attention that you give to your values. Protect it, invest it wisely, and you'll find that the relationships that remain in your life will align with your true path. Time spent wisely is never time wasted. Number 4, celebrate your achievements. In a world that constantly demands more, it's easy to forget the importance of celebrating what you've already accomplished. The Stoics understood that true fulfillment doesn't come from an endless pursuit of external validation or material success. It comes from recognizing and appreciating your internal victories, the progress you've made in cultivating virtue, wisdom, and self-discipline. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, often reminded himself that success isn't about accolades or public recognition. Instead, it's about living in accordance with nature, embracing your duties, and practicing virtue in all things. As he put it, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This doesn't mean ignoring the tangible achievements you've worked for. It means viewing them through a lens of gratitude and reflection, rather than pride or ego. Celebrating your achievements is not about boasting or seeking praise from others. It's about honoring the work and effort you've put into becoming a better man. Whether it's a career milestone, a personal growth achievement, or a relationship that's flourished with respect and mutual understanding, take time to reflect on the journey. Acknowledge your progress and give yourself credit for staying the course, even when the road was tough. The Stoics also taught that it's important not to become too attached to success. Achievements are fleeting. They are external and thus not entirely in our control. While it's important to recognize and celebrate your victories, it's equally important to remain grounded. Remember that the work doesn't end with one accomplishment. It's a continuous process of growth. As Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Likewise, true achievement lies not in accumulating accomplishments, but in continually improving. Regardless of external validation, celebrating your achievements also helps build self-confidence. But this must be rooted in virtue, not pride. When you honor your victories, Do so with the understanding that they reflect your commitment to a life of purpose, not the fleeting approval of others. Recognize the effort, the growth, and the wisdom that you've gained. And remember that each achievement, no matter how small, is a stepping stone toward a life well lived. Stoicism teaches us that we are always a work in progress. But that doesn't mean we should overlook the progress we've made. Take a moment, then, to celebrate the man you are becoming, not because of external rewards, but because of the inner transformation that each step forward represents. The true achievement lies not in what you've done, but in who you've become. Number 5. Safeguard your mental health. The Stoics believe that true peace comes from within. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Yet in today's world, many men prioritize external success, money, status, relationships, over internal stability. They chase after achievements, often at the expense of their mental health, believing that external circumstances will bring happiness. But Stoicism teaches us that the root of all peace and fulfillment lies in our internal world, in the state of our mind. In relationships, it is easy to lose yourself, especially if you're overly focused on pleasing others or sacrificing your needs for the sake of the relationship. But compromising your mental health to make someone else happy is a recipe for burnout, resentment, and ultimately, disconnection. Stoicism urges us to protect our inner peace, and that begins with setting boundaries. You must be vigilant about preserving your mental well-being, regardless of external circumstances or the needs of others. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Your ability to manage your thoughts, emotions, and reactions is key to your mental health. If you allow someone else's behavior or the demands of a relationship to disrupt your inner calm, you are surrendering your power. The Stoics taught that we are responsible for our own peace. No one else can steal it from us without our consent. This is why you must be intentional about the relationships you enter. A healthy relationship, in the Stoic sense, is one where both parties maintain their autonomy, where neither person loses their sense of self. A toxic relationship, on the other hand, will drain you emotionally, mentally, and physically, leaving you with little left to give. Recognize the signs of this erosion early. If someone's behavior is threatening your mental peace, it is your duty to step back and reassess the situation. Safeguarding your mental health also means practicing self-care, a concept often overlooked in a world that values constant productivity and achievement. Stoics, like Seneca, emphasize the importance of regular reflection, meditation, and time alone to restore one's mind. Taking time for yourself is not selfish. It is essential for your well-being. When you nurture your own mental health, you are in a better position to be present, compassionate, and strong in your relationships. Ultimately, safeguarding your mental health requires a commitment to emotional resilience. It means learning to separate your peace from external events, developing the ability to respond rather than react, and cultivating an internal fortress that no person or situation can easily breach. You are in control of your mind, and that control is your greatest asset in maintaining peace, not only within yourself, but in your relationships. Number 6, be true to yourself. The Stoic philosophers were unwavering in their belief that living authentically, true to one's principles, is the key to a fulfilling life. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of aligning one's actions with virtue, saying, Be yourself. The world has a way of trying to make you something you're not. Resist this temptation. Living authentically is not a luxury, but a duty to yourself. It means honoring your values, your beliefs, and your own sense of integrity, even when the world around you pressures you to conform. In relationships, it's easy to lose yourself in the pursuit of approval. You may feel the temptation to change your opinions, preferences, or actions in order to please your partner. However, Stoicism teaches that this compromises your true self and ultimately erodes your peace. When you begin to bend yourself to fit another person's expectations, you become a shadow of who you truly are. Your happiness, your stability, and your inner strength all depend on remaining true to yourself. Seneca wisely noted, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." When you betray your true nature to fit someone else's vision of who you should be, you are wasting your life, precious moments that you will never get back. Living authentically means making decisions based on what is best for your soul, not based on external approval. This requires courage and discipline, because it often involves saying no to things that do not align with your values, even when they are tempting or convenient. Being true to yourself also means embracing your imperfections and accepting that you won't always meet everyone's expectations. It means standing firm in your own beliefs, even when it's uncomfortable or unpopular. The Stoics believe that personal growth requires self-acceptance. Epictetus advised, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." You must first love yourself fully and authentically, before you can truly give love to others. In relationships, this authenticity is foundational. You should never feel the need to suppress your personality or pretend to be someone you're not. It's only through this authenticity that you invite true connection, because a relationship built on the foundation of your genuine self is far more meaningful than one built on pretense. When you're true to yourself, you create space for a deeper, more fulfilling connection with your partner. You also ensure that you never lose sight of who you are in the process. So remember, be yourself, live with integrity, let your actions and words align with your values, and never compromise your true self in exchange for temporary approval or comfort. The Stoics believe that when you live in accordance with your true nature, you will always find peace and fulfillment, regardless of external circumstances. Number 7, don't sacrifice your path for others. One of the core tenets of Stoicism is the idea of living in alignment with your purpose and values. The Stoics believe that the most important thing in life is not to be swayed by external circumstances, but to maintain a sense of inner direction rooted in virtue and wisdom. As Epictetus famously said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." In relationships, this principle is especially vital. Sacrificing your path, your goals, your dreams, and your values for the sake of another person's expectations is a dangerous form of self-betrayal. It's easy to fall into the trap of putting someone else's needs above your own, especially in relationships where affection and emotional attachment are involved. However, Stoic philosophy warns against this tendency to lose yourself in someone else's desires. When you allow your partner's ambitions or expectations to dominate your life, you risk abandoning your own purpose. The Stoic man remains steadfast in his personal journey, understanding that true fulfillment comes from pursuing his own goals and remaining aligned with his values. The danger of sacrificing your path for others lies in the gradual erosion of your identity. When you constantly change your course to accommodate others, you eventually find yourself in a place you never intended to be, lost, resentful, and disconnected from your true self. It's not wrong to care for others or to compromise in relationships, but you must never do so at the expense of your own journey. Remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you neglect your own path, you will have nothing of value to offer to others, and eventually, you will become a shadow of who you are meant to be. Maintaining focus on your own purpose is an act of self-respect. It means understanding that your life is your own, and that you are the primary architect of your future. This does not mean disregarding the needs of others. Instead, it means making sure that you are never the one who gets lost in the process. A Stoic man knows that by maintaining his direction and purpose, he is in a better position to contribute to meaningful relationships. He is not swayed by the fleeting demands of others, but remains focused on his path, which in turn strengthens his ability to engage with others in a balanced, healthy way. Seneca wisely advised, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Don't waste your time chasing someone else's goals or adjusting your life to fit theirs. Instead, stay true to your own journey. Know where you're headed and why. Keep your purpose clear, and while relationships can enhance your life, they should never define it or derail your path. In relationships, the Stoic approach is one of mutual respect for each other's individual goals and values. Never compromise your own personal mission, because in the end, it's the man who stays true to his path who can create the most meaningful and lasting connections. Relationships based on this foundation, where both individuals maintain their autonomy and continue their personal growth, are the ones that stand the test of time. Number 8. Prioritize relationships with friends and family. The Stoics understood that human beings are social creatures, and one of the greatest sources of fulfillment comes from our relationships with others. However, the Stoics also believed in the importance of maintaining a balance, fostering relationships that are built on virtue, trust, and mutual respect. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the value of friendship and the role it plays in living a virtuous life, noting, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bees." In the same way, if a relationship is not founded on mutual respect and shared principles, it will not be beneficial for either party. At times, especially in romantic relationships, it's easy to let other connections, such as those with friends and family, slip into the background. However, Stoicism teaches us that we must maintain and nurture those relationships that have always supported us. True friends and family are often our greatest sources of wisdom, support, and emotional strength. They provide us with a foundation that can be invaluable in times of personal struggle, and they offer perspectives that we might not see when we're too focused on a romantic relationship or external distractions. Seneca argued, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The Stoic perspective here is clear. We often allow our fears or desires to cloud our judgment. When we become consumed by one relationship or the pressures of daily life, we can lose sight of the fact that our friends and family provide us with the emotional balance and support needed to thrive. Relationships built on mutual respect and trust are not to be neglected, for they are integral to our well-being. One of the greatest dangers of neglecting your family or friends for the sake of a romantic partner is the sense of isolation that can result. Without the grounding influence of these close relationships, you may find yourself adrift, relying too heavily on one person for all your emotional needs. This imbalance can lead to feelings of dependency, frustration, and ultimately, dissatisfaction. Stoicism teaches that you should never sacrifice your other relationships for the sake of any one individual, no matter how important they may seem at the time. Furthermore, Stoicism reminds us that relationships with friends and family are not just about receiving support, they are also about giving. By nurturing these relationships, you are contributing to the well-being of others, fostering a sense of community, and strengthening the bonds that allow everyone to grow. As Epictetus said, "The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting." Unskillful pilots gain their reputation from storms and tempests. Maintaining strong, healthy relationships, even in the face of challenges, is a way to build resilience and character for both yourself and those around you. Ultimately, relationships with friends and family are vital for your emotional health. They remind you of your roots and offer stability and love when things feel uncertain. The Stoic approach is to cherish these connections, ensuring that they remain balanced and meaningful, even as you navigate the complexities of other relationships in your life. Number 9. Avoid obsessive devotion. The Stoics were keenly aware of the destructive power of obsession. To become excessively devoted to anyone or anything, whether it's a person, a goal, or even an idea, is to lose your sense of balance and control. In Stoic philosophy, this kind of attachment is seen as a form of weakness because it allows external circumstances to dictate your inner peace. Epictetus advised, "Freedom is the only true happiness. The more a man has, the more he is enslaved by it." This principle extends to relationships. Obsessive devotion means you're no longer free. You've surrendered your emotional independence, making your happiness dependent on someone else. When you become overly fixated on someone, you risk losing sight of your own identity and goals. A healthy relationship should enhance your life, not become your life. It's essential to maintain a sense of self and to never let a romantic partner, no matter how important, consume your entire emotional world. The Stoics understood that true fulfillment comes from within, from living virtuously and maintaining control over your own thoughts and actions. When you place your entire emotional well-being in the hands of another person, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Marcus Aurelius wisely observed, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." This reminder is key to understanding that no one individual can provide all the elements necessary for a fulfilling life. While love and companionship are important, they should not be your sole focus. Relationships should never become an obsession, because when they do, you sacrifice your autonomy, personal growth, and emotional stability. Obsessive devotion often stems from fear of losing someone, fear of being alone, or fear of not being enough. But Stoicism teaches that you must learn to accept the impermanence of everything, including relationships. Nothing in life is guaranteed, and holding on to someone or something too tightly only increases your anxiety and fear of loss. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." You waste time when you become obsessed with things outside your control, especially relationships. Instead, focus on cultivating your inner strength, your purpose, and your personal growth. A balanced devotion means caring deeply for someone, but never to the point where it compromises your own well-being or your journey. You should be able to love deeply without losing yourself. This requires emotional discipline and the understanding that, while love is beautiful, it must always remain a part of a broader, fulfilling life. The Stoics believed that true love, just like virtue, is something that enhances your character, but it should not define it. In practice, avoid placing someone on a pedestal or making them the center of your universe. Instead, cultivate a life that is rich and fulfilling on its own. By doing so, you will be a stronger, more centered partner, someone who can love and give freely, without the fear of losing yourself in the process. Number 10. Practice empathy and understanding. Stoicism emphasizes the power of reason and rationality, but it also stresses the importance of understanding others. Empathy is not about feeling exactly as someone else feels, but rather about recognizing their humanity, listening deeply and attempting to understand their perspective. In relationships, this is a crucial practice, and the Stoics believed that it is through understanding, rather than judgment, that we build lasting connections. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of seeing people not as obstacles, but as fellow travelers on life's journey. In his meditations, he reminded himself that what is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bees. This reflects the Stoic belief that we are all interconnected and that understanding another person's feelings or point of view is vital in fostering harmony. You may not agree with everything your partner or loved one feels, but that doesn't mean you should dismiss their emotions. Empathy is about seeing the world through their eyes, acknowledging their struggles, and responding with compassion. Epictetus taught that while we cannot control the actions of others, we can control how we respond to them. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. This mindset is key when practicing empathy. It means listening carefully, validating your partner's feelings, and resisting the urge to immediately fix or judge them. Instead of focusing on your own needs and reactions, you make a deliberate effort to understand what the other person is experiencing. This approach creates space for healthy communication and deeper emotional connections. In Stoic thought, it's essential to approach each interaction with a sense of detachment. This doesn't mean becoming indifferent or cold, but rather not allowing your emotions to cloud your judgment. When practicing empathy, you should strive to engage with the other person's emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. This emotional clarity allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, which is a hallmark of Stoic wisdom. At the same time, Stoicism teaches that we must acknowledge the impermanence of life. Everything, including our relationships, is subject to change. By practicing empathy and understanding, you accept that people are complex and multifaceted. They are not static beings, and their needs, desires, and emotions may shift over time. Understanding this and being patient with others allows you to respond with kindness, even when challenges arise. In relationships, empathy is not just about listening, but about offering support and care in ways that respect the other person's autonomy and individuality. It's about engaging with them as whole human beings, not expecting them to conform to your expectations, but allowing space for them to express themselves freely. This mutual understanding, rooted in Stoic virtue, strengthens the bond between partners, creating a foundation of respect and compassion. By practicing empathy, you show that you value the other person as a unique individual. You also maintain your own emotional integrity, which is essential for a balanced, healthy relationship. The Stoics believed that true relationships are built on understanding, and the ability to view each other with kindness, even in disagreement. It is through this mutual empathy that you can navigate the ups and downs of life and love with resilience and grace. And there you have it. 10 Stoic principles that can transform your approach to relationships. By focusing on self-respect, emotional balance, and understanding, you not only build stronger, healthier connections, but also cultivate inner peace. Stoicism teaches us that the way we interact with others should be guided by wisdom, virtue, and mindfulness. And when we practice these principles, we enhance not just our relationships, but our lives as a whole. If you found these insights valuable, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content on Stoic philosophy and how it can help you navigate life's challenges. Share your thoughts in the comments. What's the Stoic principle you find most useful in relationships? I'd love to hear your perspective. Remember, the path to a meaningful, balanced life is within your control, and it starts with the decisions you make every day. Stay true to yourself, keep learning, and stay stoic. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.